Hey everyone, welcome
Hi,
to the live tonight. Hey, hey Sharmain,
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just peachy.
Oh, good.
Looking
So
forward to
Sunny
this
is not here. She
one.
may join us in a little bit. I'm not sure, but she's not here right now. So you just get Sharmain and I tonight, um, and we're going to be talking about a case. Um, this was a little boy named Timothy who lost his life. I'm not super familiar with the case, but we are going to watch a couple of videos that are going to give an overview of the case and some recent developments that happened today, um, and some prior things for context.
Mhm.
But so, do you know about this case, Charmaine?
Um, uh, I do a little bit. I tried to watch the mom's trial, which ended in December, but
Right.
I couldn't stomach it because it is really horrific. And this boy, Timothy Ferguson, was actually 15 years old, and when he died, he weighed 69 pounds. He
Wow.
was so emaciated. They didn't during the trial. They didn't show. Obviously, they didn't. What is it? They didn't publish the pictures of the boy, but
Right.
they did show them to the jury and show them to the witnesses and stuff. But some of the reactions to them were quite intense.
Right.
He was compared to a Holocaust victim at the age of 15. Earlier today, I saw body cam footage from when 911 first showed up at the house. I should have grabbed it just even a little bit just to show how terrible of a liar his mom was. And basically, I'm pretty sure they give a pretty good overview of the case in the videos that we're going to show. But the premise of it is the mom, for whatever reason, lost custody of her kids years ago, and then she had two of her sons. I think one was 8 years old and the other one was 20 years old. And then in 2021, Timothy was also sent to live with her against the court order or whatever it was that prevented her from having custody of her kids. It was kind of against that she had any of her
Right.
kids. Keep in mind as well that this woman went through law school. She passed the bar exam, so she's not mentally challenged or deficient or anything like that. So for whatever reason, there's no real excuse. Timothy he was on the spectrum, so he was autistic. He had ADHD, and his mom claimed that he was also bipolar. None of those things are like a physically, for the most part, because he was a
Right.
high functioning autistic. He was being homeschooled by his mom, but when he was in school, he was normal. He had a
Right.
hard time focusing and stuff, but when he did, he was very smart and he was successful. He didn't have very good coordination, but yeah, it's a very sad case. And they starved him. They put him in ice baths. They fed him special order hot sauce that they would feed to him on bread. And the 20-year-old son took part in this too. Whereas when the mom was away at work, he was taking care of the kid, and he was just carrying on the abuse. And there's like a text message chain and like so much stuff. So we'll see
Right.
what the videos actually explain about the case. And yeah, you just tell me when you want me to hit play.
Yeah, and and one thing you'll see in these videos is that the 20-year-old son, excuse me, sorry, um, he used some of this as part of his defense, which it's such a the actions of the mother and this 20-year-old son are so are so full of depravity that you'll hear the judges
Mhm.
um, disdain and outrage for what happened to Timothy. But
Yeah.
um, but just for a little background, I thought we'll play the first video first. Really quickly though, I do want to. There's only 16 people here, so it won't take long. But I do want to say hello to Mr. Electric. Hey, Lacey, it's good to see you. Mark is here. Katie H says greetings from Portland, Oregon. Good to see you. Darren's here. It's a crime and shame. I don't know who that is. Travis Williamson. I'm not sure who that is. Just kidding. Good to see you, Travis. Diana, thank you for being here. Sharon Parker, it's always good to see you. Mark, I think I said Mark already, but good to see you, Mark. And okay, we are caught up. So yeah, we'll put this video is about 8 minutes long. And CJK and Ivy and Cordy all wanted their names mentioned. So hey, you guys.
Hi, everybody. I should also say to you before we start the video, I wanted to say that the son, the 20-year-old son, did make a deal. And back when he made the deal, I remember it being, he agreed to testify against his mother, but his sentence was supposed to be 8 to 12 years. But what happened in court today was much, much worse than that. So we'll have to get through the videos, but just keep in mind that he did testify against his mom as part of a plea bargain that he made.
Right. And we can pause in after this first video and just kind of talk about it for a minute before we play the son's hearing from today. And Sharmain, I think Cordy wants to hear you say their name.
Hi, Cordy. Cordy, I am Canadian. Cordy. Hi, keyboard guy. Cordy. Girl. Is it a girl? Is it a boy?
They. So anyway, but
okay.
yeah, so we will play this video and then we will see you in 8 minutes.
So the moms, this is the mom sentencing, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is our first time sharing screen, so hopefully it works. Let me know if you don't hear it.
It's gonna work way better than when Sunny does it.
Of course it will. Okay. We got this.
Turning now to Michigan, where Shanda Vander Ark was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole after being convicted of killing her 15-year-old son.
You testified yourself how highly intelligent you were. In fact, that's the only thing that you testified to that I think was actually true. You were quite proud of that, boasting how intelligent you were. Quite frankly, there's a mother's love that I've seen that is striking. And anybody who's a parent who's married, most mothers, not all, but most mothers have such a strong love for their children. And to see what you did to your own child, I don't know if there's a word in the English language to describe how to describe it. I only can come up with just horrific. You know, toward the end of these text messages, you and Paul are talking about not wanting him to win. He's not going to win. I didn't allow pictures to be shown in open court of Timothy as he was when he died, because I didn't want people to remember him like that. But of all the things you took away from him, one thing I didn't want you to take away from him was at least some shred of dignity. A beautiful child with a lot of life in his eyes. That's who your son was. And you took that from him. I'm choosing to remember him as a happy individual with life, not as an individual. And that's the picture I want people to remember of your son. You took that from him. You took it from him. For what reason, I don't know. Mr. Johnson's right. There is something broken in you. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't negate what you did here. So besides remembering him like that, I'm not going to let you hide in the darkness anymore. People know what you are now. They know what you did.
Police found Timothy Ferguson dead and severely malnourished inside the family's home. The few photos of the victim taken around his death were deemed too graphic to be shown to the public. But this photo here was shown today in court. A jury deliberated for a little more than an hour before finding his mother guilty on all charges. Today at sentencing, her two oldest children addressed the court.
Timothy was so smart. He could take anything apart with any tools or none at all. He had trouble focusing, but when he did, he was just as smart as the rest of his class. He made people angry, yes, but then he would look at you with those big baby blue eyes and you could never stay mad at him. I knew him his whole life. I held him the day he was born, and I continued to try to hold his hand as long as he was by my side, until he wasn't. I want the woman who killed my little brother to face the highest punishment possible. I want her detained for the rest of her life so she can't hurt anyone else. And I want the world to know that Timothy was wanted, if not by her, then by me. He was loved by me.
I thought that things were different than when I was younger. I thought my mother had changed for the better. Not one day has been easier since then. I've had to leave my career behind. My wife has to watch helplessly as I struggle, day in and day out, wondering how none of us knew what was going on, wondering if I told Tim I loved him enough times for him to remember up until the very end. I have to wake up every day and pretend that I am who I was before Timothy died. I have to pretend to be Nolan so that my friends and coworkers and family won't worry about me more than they already do. I'm surrounded by people who love me and care about me, but not a single person besides my sisters who understand how hard it is. Timothy wasn't surrounded by people who loved him when he died. And if I had known that, nothing could have stopped me from rescuing him and holding him in my arms and telling him I love him, that his big brothers got him, just like I did the day he was born. But because of Shanda Vander Ark's actions, I instead got to cradle the bag of his ashes in my arms, just like I did the day he was born. In all my life, I only knew one thing that my little brother didn't like. He hated goodbyes. If he had to say goodbye to anyone, he would cry and he would hold you and he would say, "Don't go." But now I'm the one crying, but I never got to say goodbye. I will always love Timothy like I always have, and it kills me to think about it. But I know he loved even his abuser and killer up until the very end, because unlike me, that's all he was capable of, love. I, on the contrary, want to stand here and express the anger and hatred that I feel, but if I'm honest, all that's just a mask, a bandage I try to put over the hole in my heart that was reserved for Timothy, but is now just filled with pain and remorse for every hug, high five, and I loved you that I might have missed in the time that I had with my sweet baby brother. So now I turn to the justice system in hopes that in addition to serving the maximum penalty, that there will be no appeals or second chances. If I can't have my brother back, she shouldn't have her freedom back.
You know, it's interesting. The judge mentioned during his sentencing that he took note of the fact that Shanda Vander Ark never looked at either of those two kids as they were delivering their statement. So he made a note of that. All right, let's bring back in our guest, still with us, President of West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani, and Deputy Public Defender Philip Dubé. And Nima, I'll start with you. He sentenced her to life in prison without parole, really had no choice on the top charge. The second charge, though, it was the first-degree child abuse, sentenced her above the range, the sentencing range, 50 to 100 years, sending a message. Your reaction?
Oh, yeah, absolutely the right message. Here's someone who tortured her son. He was 69 pounds when he died, covered in hot sauce, what he ate, his genitalia. It was a special place in hell for someone like her. Didn't accept any responsibility, pled not guilty, subjected her kids to this, and her other child, of course, Paul, still needs to be sentenced for his role in this. So this is one of the worst criminal defendants that I've covered in all the times I've done court TV. So this was absolutely the right sentence.
Agreed. All right, let's get a quick one viewer comment that I want to read. Kelly says, "Good job, Judge. I cried listening to her kids talk in the impact statements and the amount of guilt and sadness in their hearts, and she could care less." Absolutely. Philip, you know what else was interesting? People were also impressed by the judge. The judge was talking about how he had taken some of this home with him. He has his own children, and just the things that they deal with. Speak to that aspect, both as a defense attorney and judges dealing with these types of cases day in and day out. It's not easy.
Well, it's a foregone conclusion that she was going to get life in prison. I mean, there was no way around it. The judge just had to fashion sort of a lawful yet tactful and classy way of articulating its reasons for giving her what the law allows for in terms of maximum punishment. But he did it in a kind, I don't want to say tender, but almost in a generous way. He was able to emphasize just how systematic, consistent, and nonstop the torture really was. And he made a finding of that. Well, what does that mean? It means this wasn't just a one-off where she kind of blew a fuse, lost her temper with the kid, but this was an ongoing, complete domination of that child with terror, fear, and punishment, and fed him a hot sauce that was probably some type of noxious substance that could burn a hole right through you. He sent the right message to her.
Yeah, no doubt. And he said something that stuck with me. He basically said he believed her when she said she didn't want to kill him. And she said, that's because you wanted to keep him alive so you could keep torturing him. So just to give you a sense of what this was all about.
How terrible.
How was that a 15-year-old boy?
Yeah, right. And what is that?
I was trying to figure out, sorry, I'm just playing around with the screens because I got to figure out which way it goes. There we go.
The fact that the judge put that picture of Timothy up like on his bench for everybody to see, I think spoke volumes. He didn't want anybody to remember the crime scene photos. He was another one that they laid a tarp down in a little tiny closet in the basement, and that's where this boy was made to sleep.
Right.
Is it my computer that's playing? It is too. Okay.
I didn't hear anything, but
yeah. So he was made to sleep in this little closet, and whenever he would mess himself, okay, so he had a time limit. He had to ask if he wanted to go to the bathroom, and he had 1 minute for number one and 2 minutes for number two. And if he didn't get attention in time to go, and if he had an accident in the closet, he was put into an ice bath, like a bathtub, cold water with ice in it, and sometimes left there for, I heard, 9 hours one time. And that was apparently the day before he passed away, this 9-hour ice bath.
That's disgusting.
And, it is. And some of the text messages that were going back and forth between the 20-year-old son and the mom while she was at work, she had sent the kid that was Paul, I think, Paul Ferguson was the brother, about hot sauce. And do you think that's too horrible to put hot sauce on his genitalia?
Yeah, I do.
Crazy. And that's what she was asking for.
Any punishment involving a child's genitalia is abuse.
Unbelievable. And why? Because he messed on the tarp they had laying in this closet for him. Like, right. I mean, this poor boy was tortured.
After, which is a normal traumatic response to someone that's been put through a lifetime of abuse and trauma. I mean, and then to be punished for their traumatic response. It's unspeakable. And I know we're going to play the son's video from today, which is just as infuriating, if not more infuriating, actually, because part of the son, Paul's defense was that, he just kind of abided by the mom's rules and just kind of followed along with what, she told him to do. And I get that, his mental state couldn't have been crystal clear having grown up in a similar environment, but it doesn't negate his actions and make them innocent. And the judge clearly agreed.
Well,
so whenever you want to pull that up.
During his sentencing hearing, we find out that he was complicit. In fact, he was coming up with some of these ideas on what to do next, like what might work better than the last form of torture that obviously didn't work because he had another accident. Like, it's just incorrigible to think that these family members, and the big thing for me is when her older children were up reading their victim impact statements, she didn't even look at them. She didn't even acknowledge them.
Right.
Like, who does that? Like, this woman is
completely unrelated, but it did bring me back to you, and we've mentioned this case before, and I know, and it's a Canadian case, so I know Sharmain knows, but the Ken and Barbie murders in the Toronto, or
Front area, yeah.
You know, that kind of was her defense, is that she, you know, yes, she knew that this was happening, and that she, you know, and she partook in some of the activities that, you know, led to these girls' capture and imprisonment.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
there's
because
a
she
whole
was
argument
scared of
about her
Paul.
complicity.
Yeah, and that was her argument, and she got a deal because she was scared of Paul, so she was complicit until we
Right.
saw the videotapes.
And that's kind of what I felt like the son was doing, even though I understand the dynamics are different with a parent son than a girlfriend or wife, husband.
But I think it's really, really important to keep in mind that Timothy was only there for about a year. So it wasn't like this was a
Right.
very long, because there was no evidence of abuse before. In fact, they went to great lengths to hide the abuse of Timothy from the younger boy. It
Right.
wasn't the norm in that house. So for me, I feel like the son was just as sadistic, possibly, you know, maybe a psychopath. Like his mom clearly has no remorse, no empathy, no nothing. And the
Right.
son doesn't seem that far off. And we didn't find that out until his sentencing hearing. So I'll try to share this one now.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'm going to pull up. CJK says, "We all know this won't stop until the world ends as we know it. It will continue. I'm grateful there's a place for these beautiful children. No pain and only love forever." And I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And before you hit play on that, I want to say hi to Angel, hi to Lacey, hi to Lone Pony, hi Miranda Lee. I'm sorry that that you didn't realize my purple heart was for you. Hey, True Crime Talk with Frank Meister. Good to see you. I popped in Frank's live stream earlier today, which was not a live stream.
I did too. I sat and I waited and waited, and I was so excited because I finally caught one and nothing. It's like, Frank, hello.
So I appreciate Rescue All the Dogs came in and told everyone in the chat that, you know, he was testing out his new intro, which is really good, Frank. I did watch your new intro. Ivy Rose, it's good to see you. And then I also wanted to say thank you so much to Gail Hurd for your $10 super sticker.
Thank you.
Sunny's not here, so it'll make
that goes directly to Adam to help buy Sharmain plastic straws.
Well, any donations that come in while Sunny's not here, she's gonna be like, they don't love me. So everyone, just donate like a little bit.
Yeah, just like $2 super stickers or whatever, just to show
Right.
Sunny how good.
Actually, don't do that, because then she'll make Sharmain and I do lives without her all the time.
That's right, because she'll still get the money. She can go over the border and buy me plastic straws, whatever.
So if you want, we can play. So what we're about to watch is the hearing for the 20-year-old son, Paul, that took place today. And this is about a 23-minute video. But trust me, it's compelling.
It is.
So I'm seeing a little spinning circle. I'm not sure if that's going to go away.
So
when you hit play
the first concern of the court was
there we
whether or
go.
not Mr. Ferguson was suffering from some sort of intellectual disability, whether it be autism or something else. And there's a couple references to that throughout his Dr. Shays' report. And specifically, the first reference that the court had highlighted was on page 2 of the report, first full paragraph, and it says, in my opinion, he, referring to Mr. Ferguson, was clearly neither psychotic nor suffering from symptoms of a mood disorder at the time of the current interview, and he was apparently functioning within at least the normal range of intellectual ability at this time. Thus, in my opinion, he does not suffer from a chronic psychotic disorder, a chronic mood disorder, or an intellectual disability. There is another reference more to the end of the report where he indicates, thus, his referring to Mr. Ferguson, his educational history is inconsistent with him suffering from intellectual deficits, and as noted above, he was apparently functioning within at least the normal range of intellectual ability at the time of the current interview. In my opinion, the defendant clearly does not suffer from an intellectual disability. So the court, that was helpful to the court because and some of the letters that I received as well, Mr. Roberts indicated that there was concern that Mr. Ferguson was autistic. And I think probably more toward that was easier to maybe manipulate him and that kind of thing. And certainly the court does take someone's intellectual capacity into consideration. I think it's important to understand the full situation. So the court, and although those are two small portions of the opinion that the court referenced, they're borne out by much more in detail history in Dr. Shazer's report. Specifically, Dr. Shazer analyzed every statement that the defendant gave to the police. He also watched the testimony of Mr. Ferguson, interviewed him himself. He also looked through his history from the Oklahoma Department of Health and Human Services. He looked through his history from school records, from various psychological assessments that were conducted throughout his life based on the report. So I think that opinion is well grounded in not only his interview, his review of educational records, his review of mental health records, and everything else, Health West records currently from when he was assessed when he became in the Muskegon County Jail. So the court finds that to be quite persuasive in terms of whether or not Mr. Ferguson is suffering from any intellectual disability. And the court concludes based on this report, well-written report, well-grounded in fact and history of the defendant, that he was not suffering from an intellectual disability currently or at the time of this offense. The second thing is whether or not Mr. Ferguson was somehow manipulated or coerced by his mother. I think all of us would like to believe that this is a product of manipulation, that this is simply somebody doing something that they were told to do, that they were afraid. Mr. Eldon Brady mentioned it in his allocution regarding the specific text messages. Well, those specific text messages I heard as well at the trial. Shortly after the trial concluded, I had asked the prosecutor's office for a complete copy of every single text messages that would occur between Ms. Vander Ark and Mr. Ferguson, because I didn't want just the snippets, the kind of highlights or the real, juicy stuff, for lack of a better term. I wanted to understand completely what the conversation was between these individuals. I read every single text message, every one of them. I think there's thousands in there, and I've read it 3 times now, 3 times in total. I read it, 2 months ago. I read it a month ago, and I read it last week, Friday. The entire afternoon was spent reading through these things. And I think it's clear to me that Mr. Ferguson, although he says that he was scared of his mother, or there's an allegation of that standpoint, I find that just the opposite to be true based on those text messages. There is some mention about punishment, but I think Mr. Ferguson, in my opinion, being submissive, for lack of a better term, to his mother was a result that he really had nowhere else to go. He had been kicked out from his father's house for failing to obey his father's rules and for other things. And he went to his mother's house, and I don't think Mr. Ferguson really had anywhere else to go. I think he was sort of beholden to his mother in terms of, well, there's going to be consequences. Although there are some text messages, 1 or 2 of those that bear that out, this strikes me in the text messages as more of a collaborative effort. In fact, there's some text messages where Ms. Vander Ark actually tells Mr. Ferguson that if Ms. Timothy does not behave, essentially, I'm going to leave him to you, as in that he's going to let the dog out and just log off the chain. And Mr. Ferguson also several times essentially tells his mother things that are going on that are bad. And I think it's because he wants his mother to give him the permission to go ahead and engage in punishment. So in terms of whether or not his mother, he was somehow afraid of his mother, I don't think that to be the case. Now, that was my initial feeling about it and what I took it as, and that's why I wanted the assessment regarding whether or not he was being manipulated. And luckily, we did get one from the second one I referenced was from Dr. Farhat, which is specifically, I think he was asked to assess this particular question. And in the beginning of his assessment, he says that specifically, I was asked to assess whether Mr. Ferguson possessed a psychological disorder of traits that would render him significantly susceptible to manipulation, coercion, or suggestibility. After conducting the evaluation, I could not substantiate these traits as they pertain to the commission of the offense. As such, this report will instead explain the nature of the evaluation and my overall opinions regarding Mr. Ferguson's psychological functioning. He also opined regarding his intellectual abilities. He says, from a diagnostic standpoint, I did not find sufficient evidence to support Mr. Ferguson meeting criteria for any specific mental disorder. While one may consider whether his presentation suggested a neurodevelopmental condition, e.g. autism spectrum disorder, I did not find this to be an appropriate label. Instead, I attributed his overall demeanor and presentation to factors such as a lack of socialization, normalization of abnormal dynamics and experiences, poor interpersonal skills, and emotional dysregulation. He also indicated later on that page that I was initially asked to evaluate whether Mr. Ferguson had a mental condition or traits that would have rendered him susceptible to coercion, manipulation, or suggestibility at the time of the offense. Ultimately, I could not arrive at this conclusion based on the totality of the available information. Available evidence noted that he was capable of appreciating the abuse towards his brother, that he was capable of recognizing the detrimental impact it had, and that he at times disobeyed Ms. Vander Ark and tried to provide his brother with aid and support. Furthermore, despite reporting that he was under Ms. Vander Ark's, quote, psychological hold, he adamantly denied that he was coerced or manipulated into enforcing the abuse. Additionally, he recognized to some degree pleasure in having power and control over his younger brother. In this sense, while I acknowledge that he reported experiencing fear and concerns of disobeying Ms. Vander Ark, I could not reliably substantiate his involvement as being a byproduct of suggestibility or coercion. So what this court is left to conclude is that Mr. Ferguson, the way I look at this is that Mr. Ferguson in these reports, and a lot of these, there's throughout the report, there's talk about how Mr. Ferguson bullied his brother when he was younger. There's a mention, his stepsister, who I think was allocated on behalf of his mother, or on behalf of Timothy at Miss Vander Ark's sentencing. He says the stepsister, and this is before the police even really told her about exactly what had happened in here. Says the stepsister reportedly told the police that, quote, she doesn't know how involved Paul was in this situation, but he is the biggest bully she has ever met in her life, and he found genuine joy in tormenting Timothy whenever possible.
I would just like to say a couple things about the evidence in the case that came out during the mom's trial. Apparently, they had videotaped the last moments of this boy's life. He was shallow breathing. His chest was heaving up and down, and the mom was kind of yelling, like, stop breathing like that. They just assumed he was faking, and she held her hand over his mouth and didn't stop until the boy's chest stopped moving. So it was, can we say murder, Adam, on here?
Yes.
Okay, because I just did. So yeah, it was actually murder for her, but the enjoyment that Paul got out of what he was doing was shown in the text messages, like the judge was just saying, because it was him that was coming up with these ideas for different ways to torture him. like
Right.
forcing him to run up and down the back patio stairs and chase him, and it's sadistic. So don't let all of this nice talk about this boy fool you. He deserves everything he got here.
Right. And he and he testified in his mom's trial, and
He
he
did.
told the jury during that testimony that he was manipulated by his mother into the brutal treatment of his younger brother. While Ferguson admitted this, I'm reading this from a Court TV article, but while Ferguson admitted to acting as the enforcer for his mother's abuse, he said that all of the mistreatment had been at her direction. Judge Casel rejected this argument and said that he believed the abuse was a collaborative effort between the two. And I believe you'll hear in the video as we play it that Paul does address the court, and you'll hear what he has to say. And what the judge responds with is, to me, I mean, well, chef's kiss. But
Yes.
we can start playing again really quickly, though. Diana, thank you so much for your super sticker. Sunny's not here, so I can't play the obnoxious music. No offense, Rick Astley, if you're watching.
One more thing just about what the judge just said about Paul trying to aid his brother in certain ways. That comes from the day before the boy died. Paul made him some scrambled eggs with some cheese and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because he noticed how skinny the boy was.
Right.
And sent his mom pictures of him saying that we should really give him some real food. So that was, like I said, the day before, after his 7-hour cold ice bath. So none of this is mitigating, in my opinion. And the judge knew he was on it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I don't know if I said it earlier, but Ann Vroom, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming. Ann Vroom says the son is a grown man. He's over 18, so no way he can't be fully responsible for his actions. Thank you. Sorry.
Right.
I botched that, but thank you. I agree. So,
Right.
Okay, we can continue unless you have something else, Sharmain.
No, that's it.
Judge, for clarification, I don't think that was Millie, that the
Okay,
stepsister.
so maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so perhaps I'm wrong about that. But this was someone who, without even knowing the full details, reported that. In one of the interviews, Mr. Ferguson indicated that he liked getting praised by Shanda and admitted he liked having control over Timothy. He reportedly admitted having power over somebody feels good. Later in the interview, I asked him whether he had felt ashamed at the time when he was abusing his brother, and he said, quote, no, he had not. I asked whether he had recognized his action as morally wrong at the time, and he again said, quote, no, he had not. He then volunteered that on one occasion, quote, I sent her a photo of how thin he was and when I asked why he did this, he explained that I was worried. When asked when he was worried about Mr. Ferguson, Ferguson replied that he had been concerned for his health, observing that he was nothing but bones. I asked him whether he had, at the moment, thought that this abusive behavior was wrong, and he replied that, quote, that thought never even crossed my mind. A treatment plan back from July 22nd of 2012 indicates that, quote, client, meaning Mr. Ferguson, sometimes bullies his younger brother, the decedent, Timothy. The report also mentions cruelty to animals, stealing, abuse. His mother at the time, back in 2018, told staff at the clinic he's become bossy, telling his siblings what to do. For Mr. Ferguson's part, reportedly, when commenting about his being irritable, he admits that this is due to his younger siblings not listening. He gets physically aggressive towards his younger siblings. He also tried to lock his younger brother i.e. apparently a reference to the decedent in the closet because his brother wouldn't listen to him. So the court read this and certainly looks at this as someone who is predisposed, I think was the ultimate conclusion, predisposed to abuse his brother. Specifically, the victim in this case. He had a history of doing that. Now, I have no doubt in my mind that Mr. Ferguson is a result of years and years and years of physical neglect and abuse on behalf of his mother. No doubt in my mind. That's borne out in this report. But the court is asked to essentially ignore the decisions or his behavior because of that, and to somehow say that we're going to minimize the damage and what he did in this case because of that. If the court started imposing that standard, I think we would be in a real trouble, because every defendant that comes before this court has a horrible history, I would say. That's the reason they're here. People that have supportive parents and things go good for them typically don't come here. Now, that's not always the case. Believe me, there's a lot of interventions, but everybody has a history. And what I was looking at is whether or not this is a product of his mother or his situation. And what I can conclude is that this is not. Mr. Ferguson is trying to shift blame from his mother, from him to his mother, to say that somehow, well, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have done this, or she's the one that did this. At the trial, well, at her order, he kept saying it over and over and over again as it just keep underscoring the point. And if that had been an isolated incident, if that had been one or two of these things, if that had been a punishment that he administered, maybe the court could accept that. But we have an individual who's in a household for 6 months, intentionally himself engaging in torture of another person. And he doesn't, well, I'm worried about my mom's going to say, clearly it's not borne out in these reports. He had the ability to disobey his mom. In fact, he was on the stand and almost boasted that, well, I gave him extra food. Well, weren't you worried about how your mom was going to be upset? I still gave him extra food. So what that tells me is that this has been a careful, manipulated story by Mr. Ferguson from the very beginning of this thing, that he's going to put the blame on his mom.
Another point. So at the mom's trial, you could see she was blaming her son. Everything was Paul's fault, Paul's idea, Paul. But at the end of Paul's sentencing, he stands up and he makes a statement, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get to see it, but it's very, I never know the right word to describe it, but it's very theatrical. It's almost like he had somebody write it for him, and it's way beyond anything you'd expect this boy to say. I don't think it's genuine, but somebody had made a comment not too long ago about until they kind of take accountability for their actions. You hear this guy take quote unquote accountability, but it's not genuine. And his mom is nowhere near taking an accountability for anything, because she's too busy saying Paul did it. Even they were Paul's leg shackles. Paul ordered the zip ties. Like,
Right.
Just disgusting.
Absolutely disgusting.
I can't believe you let her on after she ditched us like that.
Right. Everyone, welcome Sunny.
Hi,
Sunny.
Sunny.
Sunny, just so you know, you're a guest tonight. We've got this. We've got this whole thing, like, ready to go. So
We even had donations. Thank you.
Okay.
We even had donations. We had people
that's because I wasn't here.
yeah. Well, I mean, they'll stop now that you're here.
Yeah.
That's all good.
So do you have anything you'd like to say about this case before I continue playing?
No, just play it, and then after it's over.
Okay.
Okay. I think, yes, we're about 3/4 of the way through, but
yeah.
thank you everyone that's here. We've got 27 people in chat right now. I guess we lost a couple when Sunny came on, but that's to be expected.
Totally to be expected.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Going to be manipulated. I have Asperger's syndrome. I have autism. I have Stockholm syndrome. There's mention of him saying, well, maybe I have Stockholm syndrome in here. No, this is an individual. What the truth of this is that we have two individuals that lack empathy, who lack emotion, and both of them, the triggering factor in this report, the triggering factor that caused this abuse was the removal of the husband, of stepdad. Once he was gone, these two individuals were free to torture somebody, and they did it. That's what they did. And I think Ms. Vander Ark did use Mr. Ferguson. I think that she knew from his history that he was predisposed to torment Timothy. I think that she knew that he would have no problem doing that. And Mr. Ferguson walked through that door and was happy to be the enforcer, was happy to do it, and continued to torture his brother over and over and over and over until he was a shell of a person, until he was dead, died from starvation, died from hypothermia. He had no fat on him, barely any muscle on him. And the whole time, just letting it happen. The report says it appears that the stepfather's presence in the home had prevented Paul and his mother from abusing the victim. Again, it wasn't anything to do. They were just holding him back, essentially. The overall opinion, which I think is important, is, in my opinion, although the defendant's participation in the abuse was in a part a function of his social milieu and living situation, these contextual factors were not a necessary condition for his participation. As previously noted, mental health records contain information to the effect that while they were still living with their father and stepmother and reportedly had no contact with their mother, Mr. Ferguson's stepmother told the psychiatrist that he has become bossy, telling his sibling what to do, and the defendant himself that he would become irritable due to his younger siblings not listening. He gets physically aggressive, told his younger sibling. He also reports that he's gotten irritated with his siblings and has pushed them in retaliation. He's also tried to lock his younger brother, the decedent, in the closet because his brothers wouldn't listen to him. Consistent with this, Norton Shores Police Department documents indicate that Mr. Ferguson's stepsister told police that, quote, he is the biggest bully she's ever met in her life, and he found genuine joy in tormenting Timothy whenever possible when they were living in the biological father's home. Notably, the defendant allegedly engaged in this abusive behavior despite there being any safety rules in place, and despite his father and stepmother disapproving of this behavior to such an extent that they removed him from their home once he turned 18 because of it. In my opinion, Paul Ferguson was predisposed to abuse his brother independent of his mother's present and active influence in his life. Nonetheless, in my opinion, Mr. Ferguson's involvement in repeated acts of abuse that amounted to physical and psychological torture over a period of months reflects a general lack of empathy for his brother and a lack of remorse for his actions. It concludes that, in my opinion, there is no reason to believe that Mr. Ferguson's conduct disorder has remitted or that his participation in the abuse of his brother was not an expression of a persistent pattern of antisocial conduct. The court is concerned that Mr. Ferguson will not get the help he needs in prison. I think he's one step away from becoming a psychopath like his mother. And the court is concerned that he represents a danger to the public. That if released, he would represent a significant danger to the public. The charge here is child abuse. And I don't think this charge or the sentencing guidelines take into adequate consideration of the long sustained torture in this case. As I indicated in Ms. Vander Ark's testimony, there was a long period of months of various punishments, including bread with hot sauce, There's the hot sauce that apparently contains 2 of the hottest peppers that we have in the world. Wall sits for an individual who practically had no muscle left, running up and down stairs, cleaning out a garage with no pants on, sleep deprivation in itself, putting alarms on him so he couldn't move or sleep, making him puke up food. There's bathroom timers, sleeping in the closet with a tarp down, which quite frankly might be considered animal abuse. But we have a human being here, making his hands over his head. And then at the end of his life, an 8-hour practically ice bath that killed him. So no, I don't think any of those things are adequately taken into consideration by the guidelines. And I don't think the guidelines, quite frankly, these guidelines don't justify Mr. Ferguson's actions. Mr. Ferguson, I think you are a product of your environment, but I don't believe you that you're sorry. I don't think you have empathy. I don't think you have any emotion whatsoever. And that's what scares the court. It really scares me. I think you're sorry that you're here. I think you're sorry you got caught. I don't think you wanted Tim to die either, like your mother, because you would get caught and you wouldn't torture him anymore. And believe me, I've tried to sit here and try to think, well, maybe Mr. Ferguson's not as bad as Mom. I think you're just as bad, if not worse. If not worse. Because you had a job. You could have, Mr. Johnson actually asked you, couldn't you have brought home a thing of food for him? You could have gone to a neighbor and said, hey, my mom's abusing him. You could have grabbed him and got him out of there. You could have done any number of things to stop this. And you chose not to. Your own brother. And this is where we're at. So based on all that, it's a sentence of the court. You serve 30 years to 100 years, Michigan Department of Corrections. Credit for 592 days you've already served. Court's going to assess a $68 state cost, $130 crime victim rights assessment. No additional fines and costs. Mr. Ferguson, you have a right to file an appeal in this case. If you're financially unable to retain an attorney, one will be appointed to a public expense. Request for the assistance of a lawyer must be made within 42 days from today's date. Clerk is handing you a form that you must complete. Return to the court in that 42 days if you wish to request the appointment of an attorney on appeal. Or adjourned.
I guess we don't get to see his statement. Maybe Sonny can find it.
Which statement?
Which statement?
Paul's when he addressed the court before sent.
Oh, did they not play
I
it in
can
that
read.
one?
They didn't play it in that one. I can read it.
Sure.
So Ferguson addressed the court during his sentencing, saying that no words could voice his regret. I ask the judge for nothing more than mercy and fairness, to offer me compassion so I might learn from him. I only hope to better myself in the coming days and serve my time with what little honor I have left.
See what I mean?
Sorry.
Do you see what I mean? About he doesn't mean that. He's not
Right.
genuine in those words.
The judge followed that, and I'm not sure did they play the clip where he said the judge said this has been a careful manipulated story from the very beginning of this thing. Judge Casel said he's going to put the blame on his mom. I'm going to be manipulated. I have Asperger's syndrome. I have autism. I have Stockholm syndrome. The truth is that we have two individuals that lack empathy, who lack emotion. Referring to Ferguson's mother, who was sentenced to life in prison for killing Timothy, Judge Kaysen also said, I think you're just as bad, if not worse. Yeah.
Yeah. His statement, I want to say it went on for 5 minutes of just him talking, and not a single word sounded genuine to me.
Well, I mean, I can find it on here and play it, like actually.
And
play
it was actually disgusting to hear, to listen to, because you knew he didn't write it. And then, like I said at the very, very beginning, there's the body cam when the police first showed up. The mom would, like, the Paul was answering the police's questions, and he didn't know anything really about CPR or any of the crap that the mom was saying to the cops, because she was lying. And mom was in the room kind of listening. She was talking to a different officer, but anytime the police would ask the boy about something the mom had lied about, she would turn around and interject herself and answer it for him and say, they never talked. They didn't get along, so they stayed away from each other. Like, it's really crazy to, but the police didn't buy it. They got a search warrant because she refused to let them voluntarily search the house. And yeah, that's how all that came about. And I agree about the biological dad. She had no legal right to those kids. In fact, they shouldn't even have been there. She had them taken away from her. And for him just to up and move to Florida, and supposedly they couldn't get a hold of him for a few days after Timothy was murdered. So, I mean, the whole thing just stunk.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I couldn't agree more. If Sunny can find it, does everyone in the chat, do you guys want to hear the,
Let me just see if this is it. Yeah. Hold on.
you guys want to hear Paul's full thing?
Let me just see if this is it.
We'll need moving forward.
Okay. Mr. Ferguson, anything you wish to say prior to sentencing?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now that's it.
What reasons could justify my actions? I could make up 1,000 and never believe one. What words could voice my regrets? I can think of millions, yet never feel it's enough. If I could do it all again and do it right, I would. I feel I will pay for my choices and yet never feel better because he's still gone. I have had time to think during my time in Muskegon County Jail, and I've realized many things about myself that I might never have considered otherwise. My problems and flaws, to put it simply, are the place to begin correction of self. I asked the judge for nothing more than mercy and fairness, to offer me compassion so I might learn from him. I only hope to better myself in the coming days and serve my time with what little honor I have left to make right my fault in search of a better tomorrow.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Ferguson.
Okay, a short state.
That was a 5-minute Sharmain.
My favorite part was
It sounded like nails on a chalkboard. Like, as if. Not a word of that. Give me a break.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I will say, do I think that this guy, adult, that this man regrets what he did? I do. I think he has regret.
Same.
But does that negate the responsibility he needs to take for his actions? No. And I think that personally, I think the sentence is going to be fair. Someone asked earlier, and I don't know the answer to this, is 30 years the minimum he can serve?
Yeah. So he got 30 to 100.
100.
To 100
Okay.
years. So, and I think that, I'm not sure, it could have been a different question, but I think it was, is he going to serve at least 30 years before he gets out, or will he have to serve
parole, before he's eligible for parole, right?
Okay. Yeah. Because, I mean,
right.
Who knows? Honestly, I mean, it all is going to depend on his progress in any kind of rehabilitation or crap. Yeah, he regret because he got caught. Like, to me, he's not genuine at all, and you can hear it in his scripted, not by him, statement that it just it disgusts me.
I'm not even sure if he actually has a full awareness of the actions that he took that caused this yet. And I think, I mean, he's an adult, yes, but I don't know if this guy actually, has a full awareness
I
of
agree.
what he did and the responsibility he actually has in it.
So, and I mean, Ivy's probably a good one to ask this, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, the male brain isn't fully developed until they're 24. And I don't know.
I thought it was 27.
I mean, it could be 39 in my experience, but.
Well, wait, I mean, how old is Travis? Because I don't think his is fully formed.
I think that's degenerative. It peaks and then.
I'm just kidding.
25 years, it says on Google.
Yeah.
Well, Diana says 27. I believe Diana over Google.
I don't know. Google's my Bible, Diana, just saying. But
so now, there are a few other cases that we want to give little updates for tonight. Is there anything anyone wants to say about Paul Ferguson or Timothy or Chandra?
Yeah. I just want to say I love that expression on his face when the judge handed him down his sentence. That was worth, the price of gold on that one, because he was thinking he was getting the plea deal probably amount.
Yeah.
And then when the judge went 30 to 100, his face, that was precious, honestly. Yeah. And Adam, I agree with you on this, on the same thing is like when they're that age and there's, because a 21-year-old, you can come across very bright, brilliant 21-year-olds, and you can come across ones that they're like 16 years old, 15. I believe that this kid is a product of his environment, but like the judge said, he could have done multiple things to stop this along the way. And did he? No, he's sorry he got caught. I do believe he's remorseful, but I don't even think that he knew of the ramifications to himself that this,
probably didn't put any thought into consequences of what he was doing.
I don't think so. And I don't think he was even close to aware from now he knows, but I don't think that, like I said, that he even had an idea of what type of sentencing he could get or anything like that beyond it. Either way, both of them, sick, twisted individuals. And again, when it comes to children, kind of like don't fuck with cats, don't fuck with children, don't fuck with trails like we just did. To me, I'm sorry, but when you harm a child, and then on top of that, not only did you harm this child, but then you brought this child to the point that he died, no sympathy. No sympathy. Right. I'm so sorry. You know what? You play with fire, you get burnt. And
I agree. And even we're saying all that, but yes, I think he's not a kid, he's a grown man.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he has the intelligence of he's only 21 right now. Right? That's like saying my son was intelligent at 21. Huge difference from 21 to 25 to 26. But my niece is 33 and acts like she's 16 still. And she probably has the mental capacity in her 20s.
Well, I'm 42 and I act like I'm 16. But
yeah.
Can I just point out, we all agreed on something.
Did we? Shit. No. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Dirty.
What did you say?
I feel dirty.
I was going to say, did you say I feel dirty?
Well,
dirty 30s for Sharmain still, right?
Oh yeah, that's me.
In sociology class. Yeah, I just Googled it on what it said on Google. I from what I always remembered, men develop later than females. We mature more around 25. And I always remember that men were more about the 30-year age, more so, meaning kind of like when women just it kicks in faster. Men still want to, I think, carry on their youth, but men and women, this is why I love The Tale of Two Brains, if no one's ever watched it, because to me, it's just totally right. Women, we just multitask. We're all wired like crazy. And men, they just kind of think in boxes and, and it was a pastor that had done this Tale of Two Brains. But anyways, it's just a reminder to me that women are from Venus, men are from Mars type of thing.
Right.
And Room, any opinions on why they didn't try to hide the remains? I'm still surprised they called 911. And I have no idea. Like,
Well, because they're
it
too
was
busy
such a good
lying.
point. Like, she held her hand over his mouth because she didn't like the shallow breathing. So, I mean,
Yeah.
'cause she tried to play it off like it was that he was refusing to eat and stuff like that.
hunger
course she-
strike. Hunger strike. He did
Yeah,
a
course
hunger
she did.
yeah,
strike.
that was
and
it. Yeah.
Stepdad first had his stroke, or no, in January, and then another one that was just kind of ending because he ate some. She said toast the day before, when in reality Paul had fed him scrambled eggs and peanut butter and jelly.
It's
Right.
just, I just can't,
Supposedly.
like, this woman is like, works, what does she do? She worked in a lawyer's office. She was whatever she was.
You went to law
She
school,
was
right?
yeah, she was a law
right?
clerk. She passed the bar exam.
And
She was a law clerk.
I don't like, I'll never understand what in somebody's brain ever thinks that they want to do this to children, or let alone, like, I know that there's people out there like the Dahmers of the world and blah, 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 blah. But I just don't understand how you could look at your own child and enjoy torturing a human being as a mother. It is so despicable and disgusting to me.
So think about this. She's a law clerk. She's at work having these text conversations with Paul about, do you think it would be too horrible to put hot sauce on his private parts?
No, of course not, right? I know
Those
average
are the
parent does it.
conversations she's having while working for a judge.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what even makes the stuff crazier,
Disgusting.
Wow.
Thanks for the topic, Sunny.
On there. Anyway,
we knocked it out of the park, though, Adam.
Thank you guys, by the way.
Well, we're not done. We've got other
No.
to talk about.
Oh no, I just mean thank you guys for doing that, because I was planning on doing the live, but then my husband wanted to build a windmill, which she didn't complete. But anyways, so I wanted to go to the shop with him, and I asked Sharmain and Adam if they could, take it over for tonight. And so thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah. So, Sunny, take Wednesday off.
Oh, I got Wednesday off too. Well, whatever will I do?
There could be documents that come out tomorrow or something.
Sharmain and I got this.
Oh yeah. So you have, I know there was some Westerman documents. I'm not sure if you're going.
Sunny, stop trying to control the narrative.
Shit. Okay. Back
the next thing we're gonna there was a brief update in the Audrey Cunningham case today. So we just want to read it, and then if either of you have an opinion or comment on it, we can talk about it.
Can I at least share it to the window? Can I do that?
Oh, you can. If you whoever wants to share it can share it.
Okay, let me find it. Okay.
Should be
the press release. I got
messaging in our should be pretty close to the end of our message group.
What is it? Oh, it's 11:11 somewhere in the world. Well, 8 to 9, 9 to 10 to Eastern. Eastern time, 11:11, guys. Do. Okay, let's see here. I love it when I save something and then I can never find it right away for some reason anymore.
Well, Aspen just shared it to our group, but then you kept messaging like crazy.
No, I got it, but I what happens is, I don't know what it is recently with Google. When I go to my downloads, it's like it normally should be sitting up there nice and pretty in the top. And so I had just clicked download, and now I spend my time searching for it. And normally it should just be sitting right up there, all nice and pretty for me. And it's not. Is this it? Is this it? Nope. Oh yeah, this is it. Okay, finally. But I don't know why it's like a little bit of a lag in there. So let me share.
Sharmain, do you want to read this, or do you want me to read it?
That's funny. I don't even have my glasses down here. I wasn't expecting.
I can read it. I'm going to turn my camera off though to read it.
So this was press release from Grandma and Dad, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so for anyone that isn't familiar, Audrey Cunningham is the 11-year-old little girl that was found in Texas last week, and they arrested the POS that took her life.
Stephen McDougal, yeah.
Yeah, this is the press release that was issued by her family. And people have had a lot of very mixed emotions about this press release today, but I haven't actually read the whole thing. I just skimmed over it when I was at work today, but I will start, and it says, 1 week ago on Thursday, the 15th of February, 2024, Audrey Danielle Cunningham was lured under false pretenses, which led to a senseless act of violence occurring and ultimately to her death. Tragically, Audrey's death occurred at the hands of a monster we thought was a friend, only 10 days after Audrey's 11th birthday. Audrey Cunningham was a charismatic, beautiful, talented, and kind young lady. She loved singing, dancing, reading, and painting. She was even learning the skills of a tattoo artist. Most of all, caring for and playing with animals was her passion. Audrey's aspirations were to become a veterinarian or an animal trainer. Every day, Audrey was out caring for our pets and walking our dogs. She would even walk the dogs of neighbors in the subdivision. She touched so many lives and filled them with joy and happiness that was infectious. She had so much energy and brought a passion to everything she did. Audrey will be missed by a great many people. The Munch and Cunningham families are devastated and grieving for what happened to our little ray of sunshine, Audrey. We are being attacked and criticized on social media platforms for showing compassion and mercy to the formerly incarcerated person, and mercy to this formerly incarcerated person, but our interactions with this person were a result of our faith, which teaches us to give our fellow man a second chance. Unfortunately, the system failed us due to a loophole in the SO registration system. Don Stephen McDougal had a history of disrespect for young female children, but it did not show up when we checked the registry before allowing him to stay in an old camper in our backyard. I call bullshit on that, sorry. While he tried to start a new life. Had we been aware of what we know now, this man would have never set foot on our property, much less been a part of our little girl's life. We wish to acknowledge and thank the Polk County Sheriff's Office, the Livingston Police Department, the Texas State Troopers, the Texas Rangers, and the Texas State Guard, the Trinity River Authority, the FBI, and nearby county sheriff departments, and well as thousands of volunteers, our local VFW post, and the public for helping to search and for ultimately find the body of Audrey. We also wish to thank the nonprofit organization Texas EquiSearch for their tireless efforts that ultimately led to the discovery of and recovery of Audrey's body from the waters of the Trinity River. This was a hard-working, multi-jurisdictional effort that spent long hours in order to bring our angel Audrey home to us and bring this monster to justice. We also wish to acknowledge and thank the members of the press who helped spread the word when the Amber Alert went out and quickly pulled our community together with the common goal of bringing our little girl back home and safe and sound. This coverage was considered invaluable to help focus attention and gather valuable leads that helped the search efforts. We were advised not to speak with the press during this time, as it may have impeded the search for Audrey or shifted the focus from finding her. Audrey Danielle Cunningham will be missed, but hopefully not forgotten, as we would like to ask legislators and law enforcement, both locally and in Washington, D.C., to look at the loophole that prevented us from knowing what Don McDougal was, a convicted SO. The SO registry is a valuable tool that parents and grandparents everywhere use to keep their children safe from these violent predators. This failing of the system is a crime that we cannot allow to go overlooked. There will be a memorial ceremony for the response of the soul of Audrey Danielle Cunningham at the First Baptist Church in Livingston, Texas, on Friday, the 1st of March, 2024, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 8 p.m., and the public who helped in this effort are invited to attend. Please wear purple, which was Audrey's favorite color. A private funeral ceremony will be held the next day for close family and friends only. Please respect us in our time of grieving as we lay our precious little angel to rest. If you wish to drop off flowers, cash, or check donations in memory of Audrey Daniel Cunningham, please contact Livingston VFW Post 8568. Blah, blah, blah. Venmo, blah, blah, blah. Proceeds exceeding funeral expenses will be donated in Audrey Cunningham's name to Texas EchoSearch up to the 2nd of March 2024. Later donations will be expanded to include organizations that protect our children from predators and organizations that assist these children and their families who experience this kind of senseless, violent crime. Again, we would like to thank everyone who was involved in the search for Audrey, and we hope you will do the same for others going forward. God bless y'all, and God bless the children.
I'd like to say, who believes that they actually check the registry?
Well, I
or
don't.
Are they saying that because they know he wasn't on it now? I don't.
Well, I don't, because I said I call bullshit on that when I was reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering in chat, like, I don't know, guys. I can't buy
I just don't think it's a normal thing that someone thinks to check.
Right.
I mean, no, that's wrong. I know that's wrong. Everyone should think to check it, but I don't think that when you feel like you know someone, I don't feel like it's a common thing that you automatically would think to check.
No, and like I said, I feel like this guy is one of those, he's the type of guy that would want to brag about how violent he is and how scary he is and how tough he is. So if anything, they would want to check a criminal record if they were that kind of people that cared, which they don't strike me.
No.
It's that kind of people.
I mean, we saw how chummy the dad was with this disgusting monster.
Yeah. And apparently grandma she was very friendly, outgoing, very trusting person who just wanted everybody to like her. Right. So I don't think they even questioned.
Right.
What you got there, Sonny?
Okay, so, well, it's the video you sent me. So this is from Michelle After Dark, you guys. And Michelle After Dark, I know you've shown some of my stuff. And so I hope in return, it's okay that I'm showing this little piece from that Sharmain just sent me about Stephen McDougal in jail. So it's not very long. So we'll just hit play.
Okay. Keep in mind, he's naked here, guys. He's naked.
Come on. JP wants to talk to you. Where's your clothes? Hold on. Well, put your smock on. Come on. Well, come on out here. No, man. Come on, man. Don't disrespect me like that. All right, well, wrap up in that. Wrap up in the blanket. Come on. Come on.
Look at him smirking. Just carrying on chatting.
The right to remain silent and not make any statement at all. And knows that any statement that you make can and will be used against you at trial in court. You have the right to have an attorney present to advise you prior to producing and questioning. You have the right to terminate any interview at any time. And you have the right to examine your trial if you're accused of a felony. Do you understand your rights, Mr. McDougal? Do you want a court-appointed attorney or you will hire your own? Which one? You will hire your own?
Yeah, I hire your own attorney like
Well,
this.
I need you to sign right here. Your charge is capital murder and it's a no bond.
At least we know he was read his Miranda.
Okay.
At least we know he was read his Miranda warning and basically said he waived it. Yeah, he's naked through that thing because he wouldn't put on the smock. He called it a dress. So he refused to put on a dress, which was the smock that prisoners
Yeah,
had.
I mean, that wouldn't make him look all manly, like that big swastika tattoo on his arm.
Like, what an epic piece of shit this guy is. Like,
Absolutely.
100%.
I'm just going to drop the link for Michelle After Dark in case anyone wants to go over there, check out the rest of that video. And anyways, and yeah, hopefully she has no problem using that little clip there. Don't think so. But anyways, yeah, big POS. And again, it's, what is it? It just seems like it's maybe, is it just seeming like abundance of children cases recently?
Mm-hmm.
It's what it feels like, it's just.
I remember last year it was like one after the other of parents hurting their children. Like, unaliving their children. It was just when I was doing the podcast by myself, my daughter was sick, so it was one after the other, and I finally had to say no more. Like, I couldn't do them because it was Chad Dorman, and it was Letitia Stock, and then it was Bella Fontanelle and her stepmom, and just one after the other after the other.
I know. Just to show, of course, that's poor little Audrey right there.
It's such a great picture, Sunny. I know, a lot of people have told you, but you did a great job with that.
Yeah, I liked it. It's just simple.
Not that it's about us, but that's a great picture.
Yeah. Gotta love programs nowadays that can do a lot, And then there's the video for it, which is the hearts, the little hearts taken off for it. But this is just the picture part of it. But anyways, yeah, just simple and nice and sad by the same token.
Yeah, CG, yeah, I'd heard the same.
Mm-hmm. And Equisearch did find them with the sonar because she was in fact under the water, kind of against that pillar. Just terribly horrific.
Adam, did you send me something?
Oh yeah, I just sent the next update that we were going to give after we were done talking about this.
Okay, where did you send it?
I'm sorry?
Did you send it in?
I sent it to you and Sharmain. It was just, I was just going to read it. It's not a video.
Oh, I don't see it. Weird. Oh, Mother.
Yes.
That one?
So, yeah.
Elijah? Okay.
Yeah, we were going to talk. So, if anyone else in chat has anything to say about Audrey, we were going to move on to the Elijah View or View disappearance, which he still has not been found. There's not a lot of updates in the case, but the ones that we have today are pretty infuriating, and they made my blood boil. But the caregiver and the birth mother were both formally charged this morning in Wisconsin courtroom, and the details of some of the things that came out are what I wanted to read in this article.
Okay.
So I'll just take I don't like to read when I'm on camera. This reads, the mother of missing 3-year-old Elijah Vu was formally charged with child neglect and obstruction Monday morning. Jesse Vang, a man prosecutors have said the boy was sent to for disciplinary reasons, has also been charged with child neglect. Both appeared in court Monday afternoon. They returned to court March 7th for a preliminary hearing. According to the criminal complaint, Vang said he was babysitting View at his Two Rivers home, but fell asleep. When he woke up at around 11 a.m. on February 20th, he called police. Bauer, who lives in Wisconsin Dells, that's the birth mother, told police she wasn't in the Manitowoc area on February 16th or 17th, but cell phone records contradicted that, leading to the obstruction charge. The complaint discusses various disciplinary methods used by Vang with Vu. Bauer told police Vang was the enforcer in the relationship, and she discussed the limits of the punishment she wanted Vang to use. According to the criminal complaint, Vang stated the victim was disciplined. I'm going to say Elijah instead of victim. Elijah was disciplined using timeouts. He described the timeouts as standing for periods of time from 1 to 3 hours. Remember, this boy's 3 years old. During this time, Elijah was required to pray or say, "I'm sorry, mommy." Vang reported Elijah was in timeout for the majority of this time with Vang, as it was intended as a form of boot camp. Other than getting into things, Vang was unable to identify specific bad behaviors which required a timeout. Vang reported that Elijah is not potty trained and that he was still wearing diapers. Vang advised that he changed Elijah's diaper at least once per day. When asked what happens if timeouts do not work on Vu, Vang told investigators he would ask Vu if he wanted some cold water. The complaint says. Vang said he knew Vu did not like cold water, but didn't know why. Vang said they were trying to teach him how to be good here and good at home. Vang indicated that he was trying to make him understand that going home is like a privilege for him, the complaint reads. Bauer faces 1 count of being party to the crime of neglecting a child and 2 counts of resisting or obstructing an officer. Vang faces 1 count of being party to the crime of neglecting a child. Vang is being held on a $20,000 cash bond, while Bauer is being held on a $15,000 cash bond. Two Rivers police have been searching for Vu since last Tuesday. An Amber Alert remains active. And that article came from Fox 11 News, which I believe is out of somewhere in Wisconsin. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Disgusting. And then the hearing today, I guess it didn't last more than 30 seconds. It was basically to formally charge her. Nothing about bond or anything was changed. So basically, by the time you clicked on the stream and got settled in, it was over.
Yeah.
So, gut instinct. Do you think this child's alive or dead?
I don't think he's alive.
No.
Thankfully, they didn't find anything at the
landfill.
The landfill yet. But
he's so cute.
I guess the garbage was picked up basically the day that he was reported missing. So that's what led them to the landfill.
I mean, and the treatment of this boy was horrific. If these are the things that guy was willing to concede to authorities.
That's right.
I mean, I'm sitting here reading like with that stuff, and I'm appalled and shocked by every single thing he said. And these are the things he's willing to openly say.
Oh yeah, that's the least of it probably.
So, I mean, when he was, anyone, you're both parents, anyone that's been around a 3-year-old, I mean, first of all, conceptualizing getting a 3-year-old to stand in one spot and understand what they're doing in the first place, let alone pray and ask for forgiveness, basically, to be a good boy. I don't know.
My granddaughter's 3 and there's not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah, I can't help it too. Like my son's 27 now, but I remember, when he was that age and just how innocent and cute they are. Like honestly, it's unbelievable to me. Like especially when they're like the little baby, kind of ages, right? You know what I mean? Like they're not mouthy yet.
And it's not surprising that this 3-year-old is not potty trained. I mean, that's not surprising.
No.
And then to say, but I changed his diaper at least once a day.
Once a day.
Once a day?
That kid must have had a bad butt rash.
I mean, my heart broke reading this disgusting piece of shit's statements about, and this is his caretaker, because don't forget, going home is a privilege. I would, I'm not a violent person, but
yeah,
you put me face to face with this guy.
Sometimes you can actually, want an eye for an eye. Just give him a little bit of what he gave for some of these people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Ivy, I've spoken this many times. I absolutely, wholeheartedly myself, do not think that spanking a child is adequate means for disciplinary action. It does not suit what the child did. You take away a toy, put them in a little timeout, do something. But to me, that's just teaching them abuse. I don't give a shit what anyone says. That's my opinion about that. And I will always be very vocal about that. I spanked Matthew once when he was 2, and not even like hard, but enough that when he looked at me and started crying, I could not even fathom that. Growing up, spanking and stuff like that and getting the belt was a normal thing back in my day. And when I spanked Matthew on the butt, I just right then and there, I was just like, no, I'm never doing this again, because it didn't equate to spanking and hitting a child to, getting them because they did something wrong. And so I just absolutely, I don't care what anyone says to me. They'll never change my stance on that one, because I just think that there's way other options to do for a child that can still get good results. But people think that you need to be in fear. And I didn't ever want my child to be in fear that spanking equated to getting a spank equated because if he did something wrong,
And a little bit like deeper than that, when you're spanking your kids, you're creating, like my parents, boomers and whatever, they would think that it instills respect. Well, it really doesn't. It instills fear, and it makes it harder for us to go to our parents when we have a problem or something.
Absolutely.
It creates boundaries and walls that aren't healthy either.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, I mean, I know that these children like Timothy, like Elijah Vu here, probably even
Quentin Simons.
Yeah. There's like to the Frankie case and stuff like that, Harmony Montgomery. These are way beyond just, a parent giving a spank. This is way beyond that. This is just absolutely cruel torture, abuse. And it's just absolutely disgusting to me. Like, there's nothing, I can't even try to pretend to not be angry about it, because it does make me angry that this little beautiful boy sitting before us, to any good parent out there, that, like I said, that's just a precious child right there. And
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just was going to say, and think of all the people that struggle to have children or want to have children that don't, and think of the life that they would love to have given this child, and the type of life they could have provided this child, and they just don't have the ability to, for whatever reason, whether it be financial or whether it be medically. Every child deserves to have a home, and no child deserves to go through what this little boy apparently went through. I hope to God that he is alive somewhere. I don't know, but this boy did not deserve the cards that he was dealt.
And Travis, I don't think it's a question of blaming spanking or blaming not spanking on how kids are nowadays. It's learning from past mistakes and finding out what works. And the problem is, for whatever reason, it seems to be more prevalent now, but the blurred lines between discipline and abuse, and who's drawing that line. Clearly this monster thinks that what he was doing was discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if Elijah is or not, but he's he was neglected and abused, and who draws the line?
Spanking or hitting a child is just not right. There's no questions about it. It's simply not right.
Well, you
shouldn't do
it. What this child experienced is a step beyond even spanking.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I don't want to boil this down to just like an argument about spanking, because I get people have different opinions about that. We're all in the same opinion of it, but what this little boy experienced is unquestionably abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Now, I can say that, I was spanked as a child, and I don't feel like I'm traumatized by it. My relationship with my parents was strained for other reasons, but that's me. That's my own personal experience, and I'm not going to say what's right or wrong for other parents or other generations before me, but for me, the way I chose to raise my kids was a little bit different, and it worked for me.
Hitting anyone is not right. I don't
I'd
even
like to
care.
punch a few people square in the nose.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
yeah, I know. We all do. But bottom line is hitting doesn't solve it. Like, do you know what I mean? For a child or whatever, it's just, it doesn't solve anything. I got the spank, I got the belt. I never deserved any of them at all. And and I was always scared because my mom would always threaten that on us, got the wooden spoon. And it doesn't solve anything. Like, we don't accept putting hands on each other. Why would we accept a parent putting hands on their children? There, like I said, there's for me, there's just no equating for hitting, how that's going to somehow make that child, besides them being scared of you. And I know it's not just about that, but when it comes to child abuse at all, to me, putting your hand on your child and spanking them is like, to me, child abuse. And like I said, I did it once, and I never did it again after that, because it was, to me, it was the most ridiculous thing to sit there and spank and expect that the child, like, do you know what I mean? Like, how do you equate child? Like, this is why we get more abusers in life and stuff like that, because here, I'm going to hit you for what? For taking a cookie out of the cookie jar. So I'm going to, hit you. Like, there's one thing to me between a smack, like, better than that little smack on the hand, something like that. But I don't know. I just,
that's what I mean. Who draws the line? Where's the line? And, who draws it?
If you want a good example, I really wasn't spanked, and look how I turned out.
That's an excellent example. You are a prime example of somebody that needs to get his ass kicked regularly.
I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I mean, I didn't personally have any issues, but do I remember it? Do you know what I mean? Do I think that, like I said, for me, it was like, what can, like I said, there's people in this world, but for me, it's like, what can I do to change things when I'm an adult and have children? And what did I not like about what my parents did that I wanted to change and make different? And that was one of them. Hugging my son, because my mom wasn't a hugger, was another one. Anyways, children are gifts. Bottom line, they deserve to be brought up in the most healthy, loving environment possible as they can. And for me, there's no other. Children deserve that. They didn't ask to be brought in the world. People bring them into the world, and it's up to them to take care of it. And then you have, like you said, these pieces of shit like this, that, this child is probably going to be found deceased. Harmony Montgomery is a disgusting, despicable case of how the system failed her miserably.
Miserably.
It's heartbreaking. I'm passionate. It's heartbreaking as a mother. I couldn't ever imagine that these poor children had to suffer the abuse of these parents, these sick, twisted individuals, and a lot of them losing their lives, being put in a suitcase. It's just mind-boggling. Yeah. They're hard. They're hard.
Right.
Do we have a non-child case to go into, Aspen?
So the only, there's no real update in the Lakin,
the trail murder.
Yeah, and the sorry, I had something in my mouth. And Lakin Riley's death, other than there was a candlelight vigil held today at the University of Georgia, and I know that the suspect, who what's his name, Jose Antonio Ibarra, I think, I might be butchering the last name, but his wife did give a statement over the weekend to the New York Post.
For Jose?
Yeah. They separated in November, and he went to live with his brother in Georgia. And she made a statement, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically saying that he was a quiet, kind of man. This isn't who she knows, but that if he's guilty of it, he needs to pay the consequences.
Yeah,
that's basically all. And that, she did confirm that they entered the country together in 2022 illegally.
I was going to say illegally, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really the only update that I know of in her case. I had a couple articles, but none of them really say anything new.
Right.
And then the only other case that that we had anything really to talk about was, there was, an update on the Mitch Westerman case today.
On Delphi, though, the defense filed something, but it was confidential, correct?
Yeah.
Sealed, yeah. Which, I mean, if you read the filing, I mean,
Yeah. It's an ex parte.
Yeah, it's an ex parte of, it's, to me, it's basically nothing more than a defense request for funding for expert.
Yeah.
Like
which is private.
Yeah, so it's not surprising to me that would be that would be sealed.
Yeah,
and we'll probably see a couple more of those, to be honest.
And just go ahead and touch on the Mitch Westerman, like you said.
Never heard of him.
You just said it.
Okay, well, you guys got this. Okay.
Just motion to dismiss. They want to.
So yeah, they filed. So the attorneys for Mitchell Westerman filed a motion to dismiss his conversion case today in Johnson County, Indiana courts, and they did supplement a 4-page, not supplement. They did include a 4-page. What's the word? Memorandum or a brief to support the reasons that they gave to dismiss the charges. And the two things that they outlined in it are that essentially that the PCA that was written against Mitchell Westerman did not prove that why am I drawing a blank? That did not prove that that he exerted unauthorized control over the images because they were photos of photos.
Yeah, he didn't own the photos. He owned the paper the photos were printed on.
Right, and then the second reason was that they were not the property of Andrew Baldwin because in the filing in the motion it was that that they were
they used a software comparison case.
Right, that lots of people had the photos, so they weren't owned by Andrew Baldwin, but that it could be argued that Andrew Baldwin owned the paper they were printed on, but not the images themselves.
Remember the flower pot in the museum?
However, actually, no, go ahead.
Oh no! Well, just
I mean, that was the gist. That was the gist of the motion. And when I first read it, I was like, you know what? I was like, this sounds ridiculous, but
it sounded fair enough to me.
It might be the loophole. It might be legitimate as far as getting the charges dismissed.
Yeah, I mean, basically, they said if you're at a museum and there's a sign there that says "Don't take any photos," and you take photos, they use that as an example. Or if you're leaning over the fence of your neighbor and take pictures of the flowers, should you be held? What was the word, or what was how did they say it, Adam?
Can't remember now.
Should you? It's basically saying are you going to charge someone for that, type of idea? And then they brought up the case about the software, comparing it to, he just took photos of photos. It's not like he had the actual photos. These guys all had the photos. So are you really going to basically charge someone because they took a photo, of a photo in a sense, but they weren't supposed to? Anyways, I thought it was a reasonable argument. I was like, fair enough.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm very interested to see what the judge will decide.
I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on right now and say that my speculation is that it's going to be dismissed, absolutely. But for ulterior motives, it's going to look a lot better in that contempt hearing if Andrew Baldwin is not a victim of a crime.
I've heard that conspiracy.
I'm going to take my hat back off.
Crossed my mind too. No, that crossed my mind too, Sharmain, there.
Well, what do you think? I mean, so do you think that point? Do you think that enables the argument more that contempt took place if they can say that Westerman was not at fault?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think, but at the end of the day, I don't think it matters because it's Judge Gall that's going to be presiding over that contempt hearing. But the verbiage that Andrew Baldwin was a victim of a crime, and then that person was charged with a crime, it gives weight to that statement that he was a victim of a crime. So if it gets dismissed, he wasn't a victim of a crime. It actually went through a process and it was dismissed.
To me, I'm not going to allege that Andrew Baldwin knowingly took part in the dissemination of those photos, but I think the interesting part of that will come into play with the contempt hearing, as far as there's an entire iCloud drive that was obtained in the investigation that's going to be used in the contempt hearing, I assume, with the communications between Westerman and Baldwin. So
I still want to know.
That'll be paramount, in my opinion, as far as, evidence in that regard. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I still want to know how Nick McClellan got his hands on information about that trial, the Westerman discovery, because he's not the prosecutor of that case, right? And did he
Yes,
not
he is.
cite some of that? Is he?
No, he's not. No, that's Johnson County prosecutor.
Oh, and I thought he cited some of the evidence in the Westerman case in one of his recent filings. So I'm like, how did he get that? How does he know that? But if it's dismissed, we'll never ever know.
Well, because the whole leak thing was part of the Richard Allen case. He is a party. He is a party to the investigation into the leak.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough.
Yeah, and Ivy's correct. Westerman isn't denying it happened. He's just arguing. They're just arguing that it didn't rise to the conversion. It's class A misdemeanor.
Right.
And so that's kind of what they were saying there about.
And it'll be interesting when what they define as, when it comes to the contempt hearing, or if this is not dismissed, which I think it could get dismissed. What is authorized or unauthorized, but
exert control of the property.
Yeah, an iCloud drive, and not an iCloud drive. It was an iCloud account containing all of the communication between Westerman and Baldwin, which in Baldwin, I think, openly admitted in one of the documents that they had a free-flowing conversation about the case.
Good night, Galhard.
And if I messed up the wording on that, I apologize.
But that's not ethically or procedurally wrong to have a consultant.
It depends if he's signed a disclosure.
Right. Which if he did, then we wouldn't be looking at disclosure. We'd be looking at something much different, I think.
And I think that's the part of the problem, is I don't think he actually went through the process that he should have gone through to give him access to what he had access to.
Right.
I'm not saying that it was intentional or complicit or negligent, whatever, but something that someone brought up, which I found that, because I was along the same, we were all kind of talking about this earlier, and someone posted on my Twitter about, and this was Fiend X, said, one potential problem with the analysis is that according to the state, the photos are alleged to have been altered. This could reclassify them as attorney work product and certainly not Baldwin's property.
Well, they were.
And then they highlighted something from one of the prior filings that said Some of the exhibits were side-by-side photos that the defense created and photos of the crime scene that the defense had altered. These photos were the photos that were leaked to the public, which that in itself, so then now those would have been the property of Baldwin, right? Because he created them. Or is that work product?
Talking about the crop pictures.
Well, remember, because in one of the prior filings, they said they referred to the photos as, let me read it again, the side by side photos that the defense created. So if the pictures that Westerman took were photos that the defense created, it could then be argued that they were Baldwin's property because he created them. Or is it just work product?
Right. I get what you're saying. Don't know.
Yeah, my opinion on all of that is whatever Travis says next.
Yeah, same.
Lone Pony actually asked a question.
I don't have an opinion on it.
I know that Sunny knows the answer to, I do believe.
Say that again?
Lone Pony at your time 8:52, he was talking, or they were talking about Lake and Riley, and I'm pretty sure that you guys have the answer to that. I don't remember myself, but
I don't believe so whatsoever. I don't believe that that Rachel Morin's case has anything to do with that guy. I looked at them the other day, and I'm sorry, but you have Mr. No Neck
His
versus
body.
Yeah, and his body versus a long, like you got someone who's a lot thinner of a body in Rachel Morin's case with a longer type neck, and to me that's just not, I'm not equating that.
more fit too, more athletic looking. The one
Rachel Morin's.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other guy is more like a little stouty thing with a.
What did Jennifer Coffindopper out? I think it was on her Twitter. She referred to it, Rachel Morin's as an extraordinary physique. I was like, okay, Jennifer.
Extraordinary physique.
He did have a good body, but I was like, well, calm down, Jennifer.
Yeah.
You don't say that about like a offender.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Little Lone Pony. Yeah, I mean, because it's not like there weren't some possible similarities at first, just to look at it, and because obviously Rachel Morin's killer can change his hair color. So I was looking at that. I was looking at the side of the face, but really, I think what just stood out was we're talking about a chunkier monkey versus and a stout neck versus more of a very much more slender physique. And I just knowing that is his charging picture, whatever, his prison picture there or jail picture. Just I think that there was similarities, but definitely no. We were hoping so. Trust me, me and Sharmain and Adam were like, whoa.
It's the guy. It's got to be the guy.
Yeah, like we were like, trust me.
Well, yeah.
It would be like a freaking miracle if that would have been it. Like we were really hoping because both Jane, the one when I showed that video, you guys, if you guys haven't watched it, that's the one that's called the Don't F with Trails. Because there's Jane's perpetrator that's out there still that has the potential, to harm somebody else. And like I said, Jane's lucky to be alive. Simple as that. And then sadly for Rachel Morin, of course, her life was taken and he's still out there. So that's why it's really important just, keep putting pressure on that because, it's going to come down to somebody else is going to get hurt. And that's why we were hoping so much that this perpetrator was Rachel Morin's attacker, because then that would at least take that one off.
And these guys typically don't one and done, they might take a cooling off period, but not when it's that brutal.
Yeah.
And you have maybe a serial going on in Washington.
That's a couple minutes had been discovered here in the Washington D.C. area, and I kept looking at what's report to see if it could write. Yeah, I know, right? I know. Whenever I see a case, all of a sudden, when I hear of one that comes up, like the one that happened to Jane, I was like eagerly awaiting, well, come on, give a description. And then they just came out with that sketch, not too long ago, because that only happened to Jane, remember, AKA Jane. Like to see her face and just to know that she's alive today because people came to her rescue. She got lucky that people were coming down and heard her cries for help and were able to kick that the female chick was Hong Kong Fu, the guy or whatever, in the head. And right. So I'm just so grateful that that lady lived. And like I said, they didn't say her name, but she wanted to talk about it because of that purpose, And anyways, no, it's not safe for a female to go down a trail by herself. It just isn't,
I mean, that's a really good question for Adam. I think that's a good one for Almost a Lawyer. I can't remember if Almost a Lawyer is Aspen or Adam.
Same. Which question?
Hypothetically, if the Baldwin and Westerman's communication only includes discussion of the crime and no evidence that he's physically shown Westerman discovery, would that still be contempt?
Well, Ivy, the Almost Lawyer, should know that answer. Travis.
And I'm assuming that means a known evidence. Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, I don't think that would. I don't think that would be. Well, I mean, technically, no, I don't think it would be contempt. But I'm not qualified to really know the answer to that 100%. Regarding the Westerman dismissal, Shay Hughes, who is the public defender on Twitter, posted about this tonight, and I want to read his. I think it's his post about that. But he said Westerman moved to dismiss the single count of conversion and contends. Oh, where did it go?
Oh, sorry. Were you?
No, you're right. Dismiss the single count of conversion and contends the facts stated do not constitute an offense because 1, the state failed to show how Westerman exerted unauthorized control, and 2, failed to show the property belonging to Baldwin. As I mentioned in a prior post, I believe this case should be dismissed and would add that mere presence isn't enough to constitute control to support a conversion conviction. Irvin v. State, citation, in Irvin, the defendant was a passenger in a vehicle, with the Court of Appeals rejecting the state's argument that occupying space within the property constituted control. Similarly, in Dillinger LLC versus Electronic Arts Inc., the plaintiff claimed EA committed conversion by using unauthorized references to John Dillinger in a video game. The court found the use of a trademark without permission did not constitute to obtain, take, carry, drive, lead away, conceal, abandon, sell, convey, encumber, or possess property, or to secure, transfer, or extend a right to property. Thus, there must be something more than just mere unauthorized use. Both Irving and Dillinger LLC demonstrate the limitations of the exert control element. Given both cases, it logically follows that taking an unauthorized photo of property also does not constitute control. So that was a long-winded way to say the last part, which was, given both cases, it logically follows that taking an unauthorized photo of property does not constitute control.
Interesting.
So a lot of people respect Shay Hughes, so I appreciated that take.
I totally do. He's pretty, for a defense lawyer, he's pretty unbiased, really.
And we like to give all sides.
That's right.
Did you read that thing that I just posted? The chances of being injured by a bear are approximately 1 in 2.1 million, according to National Park Service. You are more likely to be killed by a bee than a bear, and way more likely to be killed by another human being than by either a bear or a bee. And
that's my biggest fear in life, is being eaten by a bear, just because of where I live and the work that I do and the hobbies that I have. I just feel like that's how I'm gonna go. I'm going to be food for a grizzly bear.
We came across a bear when we were on our bikes in Coquitlam. Yeah.
Every time I'm up, there's a grizz.
You know, yeah. That was pretty freaky because all of a sudden I'm, pedaling away and I look over to where my son is and my ex-husband are, and I'm looking, and this is like near going down the Crystal Falls path. We were just coming back, and all of a sudden I look and I'm like, bear? And I'm like, pedal.
No, that's the wrong thing to do.
Oh no, we were on bikes, man. We were faster than that bear. It wasn't a big bear, but I would say it was like a couple years old type of bear. It looked like, at least it looked like.
Yeah,
Maybe.
but they can run faster than you can pedal.
Oh, we were pedaling real fast. We were out doing the bear. Yeah. But that like seriously, that was freaky to look over and be like, wait, what? Bear?
No kidding.
Somebody's alarm's going off. 1 second.
That bear would walk up to me. I'd be like, "Can I tell you about Delphi?"
Right.
And then that bear would run away.
Like, please, God, no. And Travis,
I'd be like, so do you see Ron Logan here?
Go ahead. Sorry, Sharmain. Adam really interrupted you there.
Oh no, I just said you should never run in tight pants around Sharmain.
Right. Or you would feel like you're being attacked by a bear.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or a cougar. Did you hear me just then? I referred to myself as a mountain lion.
Yeah. Well, Travis, well, there you have it. Case solved. It was truly Sharmain snuck down into that little Orange County over there in the last 10 years. Go ahead, Sharmain, tell us all about it. Tell us about the 6 joggers that were killed. Well, that's Barry Morphew's story too.
Yeah,
of course.
On there.
But, did you find the bike?
Yeah, right. And just so you know, I haven't seen any update yet as for the Kansas City Chiefs, like those 3 guys that, died simultaneously pretty much or whatever in the backyard there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, we haven't seen a release of.
Yeah, I looked yesterday.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything. I actually looked yesterday for the Kansas City case, and I also today looked to see if there was any update on Suzanne Morphew's case, and there is not.
Nothing.
Because someone I had posted something on Twitter about how we haven't forgotten
Suzanne
Morphew, and so I was looking up to see if there were any updates at all, and there are not, sadly.
No. Oh, and that Russ case that's going on. Hell, a boring case right now. Get back to me when it's Alec Baldwin on there, but it's just the same stuff. So are those?
I don't think that's going to be an exciting case either. Like you and I were talking about earlier, I think it's more of a show for the public. Like, just because he's a celebrity doesn't mean that he's getting away with anything. But I don't think Alec Baldwin did anything wrong. That Armour, who's on trial right now, she was responsible for those dummy shots. And why was there even a live round?
Why was there even live rounds, right, Sharmain?
Yeah, what was it doing?
Why was there live rounds?
Yeah.
Why were they even there?
Exactly. Why were they?
How did they even get mixed in?
Right.
It blows me away on that one. Like I said, yeah. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I mean, I've watched the case. I've watched at least a good probably 6 hours worth of the case. Boring as shit after you keep listening to the same stuff about the dummy rounds over and over and over again.
And they look nothing like it. Like, the dummy rounds have black tips on them. So how did a silver tip bullet get put in that gun?
Yeah.
Who would have a motive to do something like that? Or what level of incompetence does the safety personnel on that set have?
Well, did you see how things were kept? What a mess.
And that Mary Kay bag? Ridiculous.
Well, just in the one room they were showing when they were pulling up pictures today. It's like going into a hoarder's home.
Well, Friday, I think at this trial, they had the Mary Kay bag where they kept all of the dummy rounds in the boxes for all the different types of guns. But then once you take the boxes out, there's a ton of just random bullets laying all over the bottom of this bag.
Right. Today
So-
was them showing like the room where it had a bunch of
Mm.
bullets as well. But just meaning it was like going into a hoarder's home, looking at the room. It was like, yet that was like staging stuff and whatever. Anyways, it looked like stuff that when when you just toss things around and it just looks like a friggin' ass mess.
Yeah, my life upstairs. Like, yeah, I get it.
I was going to say, Sharmain, I still feel like with Alec Baldwin, kind of like what that one person said in the long crime chat earlier today, was that, so what, is he supposed to go from actor to somehow being a bullet expert to know, and then back to an actor again? It wasn't his responsibility.
No, and he was handed a cold gun, and
Yeah.
a cold gun means that there's nothing in it. No dummy round, no
That's what
live
he
round,
checked
a
for.
cold
Yeah.
gun. He had no reason to think that there was anything even in it. And he didn't even cock it all the way. Like he said, he pulled it back just to get the shot angle right. And instead of putting the cock back down, he just like released it because it was no big deal. And that's when the gun went off.
Yeah.
And it sounds legitimate to me. Like
Well, we'll see. I mean, I don't think he'll be charged. I think she will get some sort of charge. I don't think he will. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they've been charged. They're going to trial. So I think he's going to be acquitted.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it's more for the public to tell them why Alec Baldwin did nothing wrong. Because otherwise, you guys know as well as I do that if he wasn't brought up on charges or anything, they'd say, well, he's a movie star. Of course, they're not going to charge him. This is a conspiracy, whatever. So I think that he was holding the gun. The gun went off and killed somebody. And so, yeah, there's a process that needs to be followed. But
no offense, Fibro, but that comment makes zero sense to me.
He hired her.
He hired her though. So like, but to me that, she's in charge. Doesn't matter about the hiring part. She's in charge of, but that's her job to make sure that the guns are empty or that the dummy rounds, whatever they do and stuff like that. And he said, I mean, I watched his interview, but that would have no bearing to me whatsoever at all on the case because he hired her. It becomes
if they can prove that they followed their process up until the time that he had that gun in his hand and it was given to him as a cold gun and they were legitimately just testing shot angles, if they can prove all of that, then, I mean, he did nothing wrong. It's not his.
Yeah. Travis says, I remember The Twilight Zone, but that's been a long time, Travis.
And also Bruce Lee's son. What was his name? Brandon Lee's son.
I remember that.
That was different. Was that actually somebody put a live bullet in there?
Right.
That had a dummy round. That had a dummy round or whatever it was in it. But when because they were talking about that with this, someone was talking about that. I think it was whether it was Court TV, and how when that gun was shot to Brandon Lee, that was literally right at his temple. So although it wasn't a live bullet, it's still the damage that was done by hitting into
It was basically contact, right?
Yeah. Only because I just heard that the other day again, because I remember Brandon Lee, but I wouldn't have remembered the exact things until I just heard it the other day. But they were saying like that was like the difference. It was like right there, and then whatever that stuff that's in it. Yeah.
But Diana, I understand that maybe she wasn't qualified when he hired her, but they also had numerous training sessions about dummy rounds and how to tell the difference. And like Sunny keeps saying, and I keep saying, what was a live round even doing there? Like they had no reason to have a live round. Like they were making a movie.
Okay. Travis would say the hiring would be relevant, Fibro, in a civil case, much more difficult in a criminal case.
I agree. Yeah.
For that. Yeah, and then I would agree with that.
But what is he charged with? Because I don't think there's an intent behind his charges. I don't know what it's called.
This is
involuntary manslaughter.
and this is like the second time they've like brought up charges, so I'm curious. I can't remember. I haven't followed it super close, but the little bit I have seen, the trial's been boring so far.
But Travis, why?
There was no.
There was no question, though. He was handed a cold gun. He had no reason to question the safety.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it'll be interesting, I guess, to see that part of the trial, but I think it's going to be for show.
Yeah. Like, it
Just
would be one thing if it was in question. But he,
Yeah.
like, when he tells his story over and over again, it's like he said, there shouldn't have been a bullet in there. When we're inside, it's a cold gun. That there shouldn't have been nothing in there at all, right? Because that part he knows. But honestly, so when he's handed the gun, because it's done by the gun expert, this is supposedly the daughter of some well-known gun expert or whatever, like gun guy, right? So am I going to sit there and go, oh, well, let me just check? Because like, especially if I'm not a gun person, but I'm just an actress.
Yeah.
Like, it did. Yeah.
And room, hopefully, and why not? Like, I think I would pop it open, see if there's anything in there.
Oh, I would be like, no, I'm gonna need my stunt double to actually fire this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna
He
need
wasn't even firing the gun. Let's keep that
I'm
in
gonna
mind.
need you to use AI to do me firing this because I'm not actually gonna shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's what comes out of it, that actors now, because of that movie, I don't know if that happened since, then if now that the actors want to be shown that there's nothing in there or whatever, or the right thing in there, maybe that's done some good. Who knows? I don't know the answer to that, but if some good came out of that, that's always a bonus. I mean, let me put it this way: if I knew about that and I was an actress and I had to have a gun in my hand, I'd probably be thinking about that case and be going, "Can you just double check to show me?" Type of. And then there's other people that,
And Fibro, yeah, they did quit, but according to Alec Baldwin, when he approached them to find out what safety issues, all they cited was they wanted better accommodations. So if nobody, and this goes back to even the man that passed away that I was investigating, if people on that site were busy protecting him, if you know something, say something. Because if you don't know what's going to happen. So if there were actual safety concerns on that set and all they brought forward was their accommodation, then to me, Alec Baldwin didn't do anything wrong. Yes, he's admitted that it was a very tight budget film, a low budget film. They were having issues with the board and stuff, but to me, none of that equates to him grabbing a cold gun, cocking it almost all the way back, not even, just to get the proper shot or angle for the shot, and letting it go, and the gun going off. That's, to me, there's no.
She was in charge
there
of making sure that gun. She had the due diligence to make sure that gun. That's what her job is. It's not Alec Baldwin's job. It's her job on this.
They had a gun go off the day before with a live round. Like, this is.
I don't know about that. They had a gun go off the day before. What are live rounds even doing on site, to be honest with you?
That's my point. What were they doing?
Why? So, like, the only thing I can picture is that the freaking actors and whoever, the crew, is having freaking target practice out there for the sake of having just having fun with guns and using them out there. Like, let me get this. I mean, we all know that whether it's the movies or whether it's construction jobs, we all know that people side cut safety rules all the time.
All the time.
All the time. All day long. And then it's when however this live round got into that gun, like I said, irresponsible. Like that's what I would like to know. How did this live round make it on that cart or wherever the frick it was, or if it was in her pouch, wherever the frick that live round came from? What the heck was it even doing near any of those? Like That's what I would like to know the answer to, because I'm just confused on where this live round was brought, that it would literally be, say, in her, let's say in her hand, that she would have it in a pouch and it got mixed in. Is that because that's how sloppy they were at their, I mean, like I said, when you look at the room, Charmaine, as well, what a freaking nightmare. Like it's like I said, it's like
Right.
looking at a hoarder's room.
And maybe that's where his culpability lies. Maybe he is the one that had live rounds on site so they could do target practice or mess around after the day or something. Maybe that's where his responsibility lies for having that live round there. But
yeah. Anyways, I mean, like I said, I mean, the case is ongoing. Alec Baldwin says, I mean, like I said, it's not exactly the most fascinating case, compared to some of the other true crime, but a person lost their life. And then we'll just see how it plays out, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, people are going to watch it because it's Alec Baldwin. I grew up watching Alec Baldwin movies and his brothers and stuff like that. I follow Billy Baldwin's wife on the thing. We know that the Baldwins went to school with freaking Rex Sharmain there and that. But anyways, the Baldwins were always a big part of who I watched growing up. So her case is like, I'm just getting tired of rehearing about the bullet, these dummy bullets, this bullet, whatever. Meaning, I'm not one to do 8 hours worth of sitting there watching a trial too much. Not this one. It's not that captivating in that way. I'd rather look at Alec Baldwin than this chick that just sits there all the time with this look on her.
Oh no.
You get this like same face that she always has. Anyways, I think that she will be found guilty. I think that Alec Baldwin will end up being acquitted. That's my guess. That's just my guess.
From what we know right now.
Yeah, from what we know. Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, I think other than that, I think that's all I had to talk about tonight. I'm not sure about either of you.
Yeah, we're at the 2-hour mark, eh? Charmaine, is there anything else you needed to?
We're down to 16 people.
Oh God, yeah. See, 16. Ever since I.
But thank you.
Stop.
You know what that sounded like, Sharmaine? It sounded like a no.
Yeah, that's my boy. He yells at me when I'm not doing.
Yeah, he needs to go outside.
I see him. Oh,
he's so cute.
Anyways,
I will say, there were like 30 some people before Sunny came in.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam. Let me just cut you off.
The numbers went down considerably.
Yeah.
After we had our third guest join us.
Yeah. Right.
And I also noticed the donations stopped.
Completely.
Wait, hold on. Gail did a membership while I was here.
Oh,
does that count?
I mean, it kind of. It's like a side hug.
Oh, okay.
Well,
hold on a second. Miss Dog Lover, thank you very much for your PayPal donation. Thank you very much. It superseded both of those other ones. I think it was $25, but I think it was 20. It was $20 because in Canadian dollars that turns out to $32. Thank you, England. Gotta say that. But anyways, and then there was Peggy as well. Peggy had done like I think a $10 PayPal, like about 3 days ago. So I want to thank Peggy and Miss Dog Lover. And then today there was, you can thank him since it was Lone Pony's in there. Like, I got my $1.99 for Sunny. Thanks, Lone Pony.
Thank you, Lone Pony.
Yeah. Is that going to be a side hug too, Adam? Or is that more like a wrap around?
I appreciate that. Thank you, Lone Pony. Lone Pony.
Thank you, Lone Pony.
Although, it's funny because, I will say, I don't like to do live by myself. Sunny knows that.
Yeah.
I thank Sharmain so much for like agreeing to come on with me tonight. We didn't think Sunny was going to be here at all.
I didn't think that was going to be.
I've been super busy today. So like I somehow in between clients today and working all day, I got the Mitch Westerman documents. I was like doing this, doing that. And then I somehow got like updated on all of these cases. And I was ready to go by the time I got here tonight.
You were early. It was good.
Whoa.
And so had Sunny not showed, I mean,
You ready to
had
knock
it.
it out of the ballpark there, Adam? You were just ready to knock it out of the ballpark? Yeah.
We
No,
absolutely had it. We did.
Never again. But
And we even had a backup plan.
but this time, yeah, we even had a backup plan in case we couldn't share the screen.
Sorry, my eyes are watering now because it's like it's been a long day. My eyes starting to water. But anyways, no, I mean, there it is.
Thank you. I told Sharmain, if all else fails, we can just.
Hold on. There we go.
Thank you, little bunny. I told Sharmain, I said, if all else fails, because we had a backup plan and then we had a third backup plan. And I said, if all else fails, we'll just argue about Delphi for an hour, blow each other a kiss goodnight, and say peace out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you did it fine because you were able to share the screen like I thought.
We did, yeah.
It's just that we don't usually do that too often. So it was kind of like, well, Adam has all the rights. He's has administrator rights to the channel. So,
I mean, and to be honest, I haven't done a live without Sunny since June of last year when I interviewed Murder Sheet.
That was on your channel though too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the last time you did one, isn't it? But anyway, see, and you know, I'm glad you guys did it because I know that Sharmain wouldn't like to do a solo. You don't like to do a solo. Whereas me, you guys know that. I don't care. I can do a solo. But I know that both of you. So to me, it was like a little bit fun knowing that you guys were doing because together, then you guys at least have both of you. Because I knew if it was just Sharmain, Sharmain would have been like, no, thank you. Just postpone it till tomorrow. But if Adam does it, I'll do it. And then Adam's like, well, if Sharmain does it, I'll do it. I'm like, well, good.
Which part of my background, Lacey? Because I've got a mural of Cape Breton Island back there, but I also have a picture of my husband.
Her husband to be.
Jason Momoa. I don't know if you've heard of him.
But Sonny, to be fair, Sharmain did send me several messages throughout the evening that said, you be nice to me or I'll effing kill you.
Was it? I can believe she would say that, to be honest with you.
I'm actually a very violent person.
I can believe that. To be honest.
Diana, no, I did not. I have not had a Caesar since Friday, and I don't think I'm going to. Took a couple of days before I remembered who I am as a person, and I don't drink. So.
I had my tacos. If you didn't have,
might need a few more.
Mm-hmm.
Tacos are good.
They are.
Oh.
Actually, I am hungry, so because I didn't get a chance.
Look at you.
So I'm ready. I am ready to say goodnight.
All right, and you go ahead there. Go ahead. And Sharmain does have a nice background there. It almost looks fake, but it's real.
It's real. See the one in my bedroom? It's the Little Mermaid. It's really cool.
You're gonna have to
Trust
show
me,
that.
a lot of people have seen it.
Not a single soul. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys, thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks to Sharmain. Thanks to Aspen, of course, for starting off the live.
I'm just kidding.
Sorry, I had to come in there and be like, let me squeeze in here. Three's a crowd, right? Sometimes. No, just kidding.
I thought you were gonna say save the day. I thought we were doing a hell of a job.
No.
Hey, Sharmain, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, I'm cool with that. I'm very cool with that. Anyways, you guys take care. Have a good one. Thank you so much, and we'll see you Wednesday. But unless something urgently comes out tomorrow or something like that. Other than that, have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
We are not alone. Within my referee, there's holy light. Without an honor, we stand and fight.